Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is Saturday, October 10th, and I promised one student in our class that I would take some time this morning to very quickly capture some video of some of the machinery and the implements that we talked about on Thursday in class there. I'm not going to make this a very fancy video this time. I won't worry about the staging and all the cameras and everything there, but I'll do it quickly and just to review a little bit about actually the importance of that lesson there, the tillage and soil preparation there. But as I'm getting out to the place where there's some equipment yards and a farm shop and everything, I just happened to be passing by some fields there. The first field I saw was this field right here, and you can see that this is actually garlic that's growing out here. It's a very large field, again, like the one that John Diener in our first video talked about, having very large fields that allow for the production of largely processed crops here. So this is what we would call processing garlic. It'll be machine harvested, and it's very interesting what's happening right now. The garlic has been in the ground. It was planted probably last fall, actually. So this crop was, well, let me think about that. I think that's right there. So it's gone for a long time here. It's gone over the winter time at least there, and it grew and it's dried out now and it's mature. And what has happened just recently is that the farmer came in and did what they call topping. It's like a shredder or a mower, and it topped, or it chopped off and just cut off all the tops of the onion plant so that they don't have to be dealt with in the harvest. So what you see here are just the garlic cloves in the soil there. And the next thing, the reason that these irrigation sprinkler pipes are out here is because the farmer's going to put on sprinkle irrigation just to soften the soil up and to make the undercutting of the garlic easier when they come by. You'll see some live action videos about onion and garlic harvesting, and now that I think about it, you already have, but later on in the quarter. But I just thought I'd show you what's happening in this field here. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, if he's using a disc in this field, what is that going to do to the underground drip tape there? Well, I happen to know this field, and they took out the drip tape, so maybe the drip tape had been in there for 5 or 6 or more years there already, and they needed to replace it. So I saw them earlier this fall actually removing the drip tape. So that's why they're probably running a disc and other tillage implements there over the soil. Okay, we really, again, hit the jackpot today, because over in this field that you're seeing here, this is actually the garlic it's a different field, but it's garlic that's being harvested. So they put on the sprinkler irrigation to loosen or soften the soil up, and now the undercutting machines are coming in and just bulk harvesting the garlic. So it's all machine harvested. There are people that work on the harvesting machines there to clean out some of the garlic before it gets dumped into the trailers there, but by and large it's a mechanical harvest thing there. So you're seeing a lot of activity there. Okay, right here you can really see on both sides of the car as I'm driving ahead now, just to underscore the importance of soil and land preparation and tillage operations in farming production systems here. You know, there's a lot of work that goes on to prepare the soil for vegetable crops or for annual crops, and you know, a lot of times it's almost invisible work. You don't see it unless you really keenly pay attention to it, but it accounts for a lot of labor, a lot of equipment, investment and time, and it's just preparing the seed bed for the next crop there. So this is the kind of after harvest work that is very commonly, very routinely done at lots of vegetable farms. So you shouldn't underestimate the importance of these operations. And here's one of the big E's, the equipment E in the 3 E's of farming. We're seeing it right before our eyes today. Okay, I almost can't believe what's happening here, because I'm literally stopped and I'm seeing right around me different examples of what I can show you as a class there. What you're seeing here is a scraper, and it's just a metal blade that's running through the field to even this field off here after the post-harvest tillage has gone on. I'll go outside and get a close-up of this, but you can see it just pulling soil from high spots to low spots. Okay, I'm just about 3 miles down the road from our last stop here, and lo and behold, we see something else that is quite interesting. Here is a bedder or a lister. What this machine is doing, it's just got some sweep blades, metal blades on the back of it here that are pointed and that will that'll dig into the soil and push soil up and create a groove or a furrow, F-U-R-R-O-W, or a low spot in the field. And this tractor has a little receiver on the top of it, a signal receiver that's called a GPS signal receiver, and it is guiding that tractor through the field. So when the driver starts the tractor forward, it's all automatic. It's just receiving the signal, and the steering mechanism is automated so that it knows how to go within a very small inch or so, sub-inch accuracy. So the tractor driver is actually not even steering the tractor except at the ends, when they come to an end and when they're turning around. So this is called listing of beds, or bedding up, and it's creating low spots where the tractor traffic will be later on, and then the bed tops. And you can see the soil is kind of chunky here. They might have to do more tillage later on there, but this is again to make the point about the importance of the E for equipment. You're seeing it right before your eyes here. Okay, we're now looking at a kind of a cultivator here. This is, again, cultivation is for weed control, for knocking and dislodging weeds and killing weeds there. This is called a rolling cultivator. Those finger-like spike things there, they just engage with the soil and dislodge weeds from the soil. You can put them at different angles depending on what your beds are shaped like, and you can have different sweeps behind it. That blade right here, that's called a sweep. And you can see this is a variation. There are a lot of these kind of rolling cultivators. All right, this is a company out of, well, it says Wasco here, but it's actually, the mechanism there is called a Lilliston cultivator, and it's made in Texas, I think, actually. So it's a fairly well-known trade name. Okay, now we're coming to a moldboard plow, and you can see when I say it's got a characteristic shape here. What you're seeing right there with that point tip right here, the metal part, that's the part that goes in the ground. Or let me show you the bottom one here. It would be engaged in the soil. The soil comes up on that curved shield piece there, and it gets inverted. So a moldboard plow is not used very much in California. It can be, but it's you know, the way the prairies were plowed originally was with this kind of an implement here. So what you're looking at right now is an example of a moldboard plow. And the reason it has 3 on the bottom and 3 on the top is because when you go in one direction, you'll pull it and you'll switch them at the end of the field there when you're coming back on the field. I didn't know we had this machine here, this implement here. This could be a sweep plow, and again, you got the same idea. That tip there would go underneath the soil, not too deep there, and it would just be dislodging roots or the crowns of plants
and it's a kind of a plow because it is pretty aggressive there, but it's a different type of plow. Okay, now we're going to come up to again, secondary tillage here. This is a type of harrow, Harrow. You can see that there are little metal spikes here. They're not too big, they're not too aggressive. They're just going to break up surface clods and smooth out the soil. So this would be called a harrow, one kind of harrow. I didn't know we had this one here, but this could be something like a chisel plow here. So it's got those tension mounted curved blades there, but you can see they're only about 2 inches wide, and they would go in the soil. Again, this is less aggressive certainly than a moldboard plow or a disc plow, and it's just going to mix residue to some extent and break up the soil surface there. Okay, we got a couple of these implements in a row right here. This is called a lister or a bedder. What you're seeing here is those sweeps, or those angled pointed blades there. They will dig into a flat surface soil and they'll create a furrow or a gouge or a valley there. They'll push the soil up onto a bed. So a lister is to make beds. This is actually wherever there's a point of metal there, that's in the soil, and it's going to create a raised bed in between the 2 points. I'll show you another one here. This is another one. The spacing is a little bit wider apart here. So this lister is for 1, 2, 3. It's going to pull up 3 beds here in between those 4 sweeps. Okay, now we're coming over to, again, secondary tillage implements. This is the back of what is a cultivator. So you can see a number of different shanks or metal blades that go down into the to the surface of the soil with different angled blades or cutting knives there. So this is very common for vegetable production. You can imagine maybe the plant being in between those angled L bracket blades there, and the side of the bed being somewhere where those sweep or those curved angle things there. So what this machine is doing is just cultivating or going into the soil maybe 2 inches deep and dislodging roots so that it can kill the weed roots there. Okay, we've got a number of different rollers right here. This is called a ring roller, and you've seen this on a disc before. It might follow a disc operation and just break down. It's pretty heavy, and each of those ring circles on it rolls independently, and it just breaks up soil on the surface there to smooth it out here. This would be more of a cylinder roller, and it's very heavy, and it can just smooth out the soil surface as well there. Okay, this is called a cultimulcher. So you can see, there it is. You can even see the name, a cultimulcher there, made in Buttonwillow down in Kern County here. So this is actually for 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and I can tell that by in between those orangish colored shanks there. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, yeah. And what this does is it does the final finishing soil work here. So all of those blades, those metal heavy blades there, they are engaged with the soil surface, and they're just spinning really, really fast and chopping the soil up in small pieces there. So this would be called a mulcher, and it's pretty intensive here. It's not going very deep, but it's creating a nice surface condition. Now here's another mulcher here. You can see that it's got 3 rows here. This is a wider bed spacing mulcher, and it's got kind of L-shaped blades on it here, or knives, and they're really just, butchering or pulverizing the soil to create nice beds there. And the bed will be in between those 2 shroud pieces of metal in the front there. You can see where the bed will come out over here in the back there. So you can see 1, 2, 3 beds are being formed by this machine here. Okay, we're kind of on a roll here now. This is actually, we haven't talked about this yet, but this would be a machine that would be applying fertilizer. So it's going in the direction forward from where those blades are in the back, and each one of those white colored plastic tubes goes down to a shank in the bottom, and that's where the fertilizer drops out from these what are called hoppers, or these yellow bins on the top there. So fertilizer or maybe some amendment material would be loaded into that yellow hopper, and there are metering devices that you can control the rate, and then the fertilizer would go out into those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different shanks at the bottom there. Each one of those metal black blades on the bottom goes into the soil. I hadn't noticed this here before, but this could be called a rotary harrow. So you can see that it's mounted on some spinning wheels with very pointed finger-like things on there, and that would just create just surface, shallow secondary tillage, smoothing things out, killing weeds before a planting would take place. Let me give you a test here now. What do you think this would be here? Just looking at it. This is kind of interesting here. This is a very good one for our vegetable crop class. If you guessed a cultimulture, you're right. What's different about this one is that it's a 3-row cultimulture, so you can see the L-shaped blades down below, but in the middle of each of those rows, there's a little white rectangular tunnel. You see this thing right here? What that's for is that's to protect the plants that have been transplanted. So imagine that you've transplanted here, that would be used for tomatoes. There are 3 lines of tomatoes. And after you transplant the tomatoes, you would come through with this machine, and it would work to kill weeds that are on the sides or the shoulders of the beds, all while protecting the plants from the mechanism there, from the implement there. So those shrouds, those white things, are protecting the plants that are in the field. Okay, we're gonna jump ahead here now. This is what's called a strip tiller. What this is doing is it is going to loosen the soil with that big subsoiling shank there that has the pointed tip on it, and it will break up subsoil compacted layers, and it also, with these rubber tires in the back, it'll compress the soil back into a smooth soil surface there. So what you've got is you've got a cutter, this thing in the front there, that circular thing is called a coulter, a flat coulter, C-O-U-L-T-E-R. Then you have a subsoiling shank, and then you have some kind of a clod breaking mechanism in the back to smooth things out. This is actually made in Georgia. It's called Kelly Manufacturing Company. And in Georgia, they do an awful lot of strip till. They don't want to disturb the whole soil. They just disturb in where the plant lines are going to be in strips. So strip till is just banded or zone tillage. This yellow machine is a Buffalo Manufacturing Company here, and this is another kind of a cultivator. This happens to be a high residue cultivator. The plants would be in between. This might be used for corn, for instance, in between those discs right in the front where the camera is showing right here. And those shrouds there, they protect the plant from all the tools that are on the toolbar here, so that the plant is not damaged. This is called a high residue cultivator. And remember, cultivation is for weed control. Okay, here's another variation on the strip tiller theme here. This is a company out of Texas called Bigham Brothers, and what this is what's called a bent leg strip tiller. You can see that the shank, the big subsoiling blade there, is actually curved, or it's bent at the bottom there, and it's supposed to be a way of using less power, less energy to go through the soil, but still break up subsoil compacted layers there. So this is called a bent leg subsoil shank here. You see how the angle is there? That's going down. The coulters, the The round flat things in the front, they're to cut the residue in the ahead of the implement. And then you can see also the 3-point hitch, 2 side hitches, and then the top hitch that connects it to the tractor. For those farmers that are using herbicides, this could be like a sprayer. It's called a hooded sprayer. The herbicide chemical material comes underneath that yellow shroud there, and it protects the plants that would be in between there from getting herbicide on them. This is actually an older version of a minimum till implement here. You're going to see this in the video at much better here, but this is very heavy, and it would combine a number of practices or a number of operations. Right here in the front here, that big heavy shank there, that's to loosen the furrow compacted layers there. So that goes into the soil there, and that's very heavy metal there. The back part here where those paddle blades are, that's where the bed is. So that's going to break up the soil in the beds. And in the back here you have a shroud that will just sort of smooth out the beds. This is again a 3-row Wilcox Agri-Products minimum till implement. Where those triangular things in the back here, that's where the furrows are. So that's sweeping out the furrow. Here's where the bed would be. There's another furrow, another bed, furrow, bed, and furrow over there. Those of you who may have heard of a cover crop roller, this is actually a cover crop roller right here, the red machine or implement. And it is pulled, again, you can see the 3-point hitch, top, left, and right there. It's moving in this direction there, going forward. And it has very, strong blades on it. You can fill it with water. And the idea was that you can knock down a cover crop without having to spray herbicide. We'll see this in use there. There's the water plug there on the top there. You can fill it with water there. We'll talk about this later on. What you've got here is another kind of a fertilizer applicator. The 3-point hitch, left, right, and top there in the front. The flat, somewhat wavy or fluted coulter there that cuts the residue. And then those pointed metal shanks there behind it. And they are attached to hoppers where the fertilizer material is contained and where it's metered out. It comes out of there, drops down there, and goes right into the soil. So that's called a fertilizer rig. This, I didn't have the... Let me make sure we're recording here. I think so, yeah. So this is very interesting here. This is called a strip tiller again. There are 6 rows on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what are called row units. And each row unit has a sharp, round blade that cuts the residue. It has these notched, angled discs right here that push the residue out from the middle of the row. Then right here, this is called a subsoil loosener. This is a shank that will loosen the soil, the compacted zone right in the front there. And then back here you have a wavy coulter, and one on each side there, and a clod busting basket here. So what happens here is that you are doing strip tillage. You're only tilling in the line where this row unit is working. In between the row units, you can see right here, there's no tillage. So this is a form of reduced disturbance tillage because you're only tilling in the zone where you're going to be planting. And it's called strip tillage. The main pieces on a strip tiller, once again, are a coulter, right up front, that sharp blade in the front that cuts the residue managers that push the residue out from the seed line, a subsoiling loosener, that blunt metal blade there, and then some sort of clod busting mechanism in the back there, the wavy coulter and the rolling squirrel cage. So this is a strip tiller. Let me show you this here. This is finally a flail shredder. So after a crop is harvested, this machine right here would go through the field typically, and you'll see this in the video this week here, but it has different blades on it down below, and those are spinning very fast, and they're just butchering and chopping up any above ground plant material. So I'll go really close in here so you can see this. But those blades are spinning, and it's called a flail shredder or a mower. And this chops the residue up into smaller pieces so it can be worked into the soil or incorporated into the soil. So now we've got just about every implement that I intended to show you. You're going to see it here today. What I'll do maybe is just drive by the row after row of each equipment here and see if you can, I won't say anything, I'll just let you identify in your own mind what you think you're seeing there, and then you can check yourself. So you've got a lot of terminology today, I know that, but I think it's important here. All right, let's see. So I'll drive now and I'll keep the camera running here. And just keep an eye, I'll go slowly, but see if you can identify the implements that we
Okay, one last stop here. I didn't realize I was going to really see all this much stuff this morning here, but what you're looking at here is a tomato field that's just been finished harvesting today, and you can imagine that very soon after today, once the harvesting equipment is out of the field, that there will be preparation and land work going on here to prepare these beds for the next crop next year there. So I just, it'll turn around in this particular region. Things don't stop very long here. It'll be done in a matter of days, actually. They'll be doing the tillage and preparation of the beds for next year. So this is a subsurface drip field, so they're going to have to use some sort of minimum tillage approaches here so they don't hurt the drip tape. But there it is right in front of your eyes. You can see the trailer compaction on the sides of the beds that has to be handled there.